So I'm wandering around in some sort of medieval kind of alleyway type area, although I'm planning to head over to Alexanderplatz. I would have shown you what I ate, or at least narrated it, but there's nothing more obnoxious than someone talking to a camera when no one else is there. It was just me and one other person in the part of the restaurant. But yeah, it's a good deal warmer today. So I'll walk over to Alexanderplatz, see what's happening there, and then I hope to go over to the East Side Gallery where they have that famous mural of Brezhnev and Honecker kissing. So let's go have a look. I think if we look around here, we might find her mate, Karl Liebknecht. Cool. And there he is, only a block over. And here we see the famous TV tower. No prizes for guessing what that was for. Willkommen, Kameraden, in Alexanderplatz. So we're in the Platz now. Obviously we've got the station over there, so it's not as nice as some of the other Platzes, like the one where they had the book burnings, but then again this was very firmly in the east. The TV tower, my understanding is, was actually a TV tower that functioned in the GDR and is only as big as it is because there was another TV tower in the west, and it was supposed to be bigger than that one, you know, sort of a victory of socialism over capitalism. So yeah, this is the famous Alexanderplatz. Something tells me it didn't look like this all the time, but here you go. Alexanderplatz. Here's an example of a victory of capitalism over socialism, unfortunately. A great big department store. And we're not far from where the wall used to be. So, if that's not victory, what is? I think it's time to go have another look at Checkpoint Charlie. Got to engage in some Cold War kitsch. So, here we have what I think is sort of a world clock. So each of those numbers there represents how many hours from time difference from here it is, I think. So yeah, you've got the 7 hours in Havana, and then on the other side I sort of got Sydney and Melbourne and stuff. I wonder, was this here when the wall was still up? It'd be cool to look into. I feel very silly, lads. I try to use at least some German, but they can all tell that I don't speak it. So, that's the one rule I have for coming here next time. I want to learn at least passing German. I mean, I've always wanted to learn it, so it shouldn't be too hard, but as a courtesy to them, really, you know, it's such a global city. It'd be nice to be able to actually speak to them in their language, you know, not be such an imperialist. Here we are by the River Spree, the river that splits Berlin in half, and I think, for the most part, actually split east and west. You can see I've taken my jacket off. It is really hot today, and so I'm still trying to find my way to Checkpoint Charlie, sort of meandering that way, but I think I might stop for a beer soon. Whoa, look at all the people. There we go. So I've stumbled across this nice sort of cobbled part of the city. There's the Polizei, or whoever. But this is what the city must have looked like, you know, before it was all flattened by the Soviets and the Allies and all the rest. So those who might know the city better than me, I'm near a place called Knoblauchhaus, Schubert House. So Schubert must have lived here. Yeah, got this nice old church. All the rest, you've got the cobbled streets. You've got the fountain over there, got the old Berliners hanging around, cooling themselves next to the fountain. Let's keep looking. So behind me, if you can hear me over the traffic, is the Berliner Rathaus. And Rathaus, in my understanding, means town hall in German. Now, I don't know what this building did. It's just really impressive. It's big and it's red and it's old. You get a better sense of it when you're walking out close to it, but it is quite monolithic, you know, it's quite grand. I have no idea about the history of the place, but it's here. And yeah, as I said, it's old. Like, look at the rest of the skyline. This is probably a bad area to do it, but you know, most of it's relatively new. Then again, as I said, most of this area of the city was flattened during the fighting. And I heard from a tour guide yesterday that, see on the TV tower where the lights are reflecting? They ended up calling that the Pope's Revenge when the wall was still up, because it would always make the shape of a cross. And so they tried to paint it with different paint and everything, but all the time it would reflect across from east to west. So, a little bit of trivia there for you. So, Berliner Rathaus, and another shot of the TV tower. I have no idea what this Platz is, So I think that means another time for a beer in a little place I just found around the corner, and then I'm going to ask for directions to Checkpoint Charlie and then to the Ostgalerie. Found the way to a DDR museum. Maybe this is turning out well. Air conditioning. So I just came out of the DDR museum. Wasn't great. Pretty kitschy, pretty much done, you know, sort of get as many people through as quickly as possible. Lots of interactive stuff, not terribly much engagement with the scholarship. But yeah, you know, it does its job. You get to see what life in the DDR was like, albeit through a very curated lens. But yeah, not terrible, but yeah, not great either. There was some interesting stuff, like there was a make-up of a ministerial desk, and you pick up the phone and like you could listen to ministers and stuff talking to one another, and then there was like a listening post as well, and yeah, but it wasn't great. The tour guide said yesterday that the prison's better, but I think that takes a while to get out to. But now I am dying for a beer, and then I am going to ask someone for directions to the Ostgalerie. So I've stopped in a cafe to get a beer, and one thing I've noticed in this country is that unlike the Netherlands, places still prefer cash here, whereas everywhere in the Netherlands completely cashless, or for the most part is, they prefer to use cash here. I made that mistake yesterday when I ordered a beer and they had to bring out the card thing. Like, it was totally fine, but they just prefer the cash. Just an interesting little tidbit. In the biggest economy in the region, they don't do... Well, they do cashless stuff. They do PayWave, but they just prefer cash. There you go. Right, so behind me is the famous Museum Island, which everyone I told that I was coming to Berlin said I should do. But I'm going to disappoint them because I still want to go see the East Gallery. So, something on the list for next time. So here I am, guys, finally at the East Side Gallery, although technically I'm standing on the west side of the wall. So this is the wall that you would have seen, you could have seen it from the west, but actually this was sort of, so there were two walls. There was this wall, and then if we head over that way, there was obviously the space in between with the guard towers and the barbed wire and the dogs and the machine guns and all the rest. This was the interior wall of the actual walls, but I'm standing on the western side, so. But let's go over to the business end, which is the east side, which is apparently the longest piece of the interior wall still preserved. And let's have a look. I mean, I'm gonna touch the wall and sing Heroes, so you know, expect that in a minute. We can be heroes just for one day. Gotta pay tribute to Bowie. On the wall. It really doesn't look like much. It's like, it almost looks like a wall that you'd see, I mean obviously except all the art, looks like a wall you'd see like in a council estate. We can be heroes just for one day. Now to try and find the really famous mural of Honecker and Brezhnev kissing. It's like when I was at the Brandenburg Gate the other day, lads. I'm shaking. I mean, like, I cannot believe I'm finally here looking at the wall. I've read about this, as I said, since I was in short pants, and I'm finally here looking at it, touching it. I still can't believe it. Like, I keep taking off my sunglasses just to make sure I can actually see it, you know. And, you know, I keep putting my hand on it just to say that I have actually touched the Berlin Wall. I've seen it. It's amazing. I love this town, I love this country. Definitely coming back. So the crowds are gathering at what's arguably the most famous fixture on the East Side Gallery. God help me, save me from this poison love. It's like seeing the Brandenburg Gate again, you know, it's finally you get to be here and see the picture, see the wall, all the rest. It's quite powerful. You can see everyone wants their picture taken here, but I don't feel like a lot of them get what the picture's trying to say. A lot of people kiss underneath it as well, which kind of misses the point, but you know, whatever. A lot of people are seeing it, you know, as long as one person reads about it, that's good. Can be heroes just for one day. So I'm in the War Museum and I'm the only person here. It's a bit, you know, it's better than the DDR Museum at the very least. So I just came out of the War Museum It's better than the DDR museum, still a bit sort of, you know, very interactive, lots of video, all that kind of thing. A very good starter for anyone who was interested in that kind of sphere and that period. But, you know, I'm sure there are better Cold War museums, but certainly a great deal better than the DDR museum. That one was just, whew. I didn't take any footage because it really wasn't worth it. Yeah, I'm not sure it was worth the €12.50 I had to pay for it, but otherwise, still fairly well put together. Had lots of uniforms and all the rest. But yeah, better than the DDR museum. So a good start, I think, if you were interested in it. And now, try to get back to Checkpoint Charlie. What would have been I think it's the Toten Zone, something like that. So the death zone. So this would have been, you know, where the lads with the rifles and the jeeps, well, not jeeps, but the lads with the rifles and the dogs and the searchlights would have been. So that's the wall that you would have seen had you been able to get over that first wall. You could probably see it from the west, from some of those taller buildings, if they were there. But yeah, so I'm in the Toten Zone at the moment. So it's really something, you know, for me at least. Fuck me, it's hot today, fellas. As soon as I'm done at Checkpoint Charlie, because I've got to do a little bit of Cold War kitsch, I have to, other than what I've already done, it's time to go to one of the craft beer places that my friend from Passau recommended and just drink a lot of water and a lot of beer. I think will be a good way to end the day. Don't really have time to do Museum Island, but again, as I said, that's something to do for next time. So here we are by the Spree again. What a lovely walk in the Toten Zone. And here's another sign of quote-unquote victory over the old system. What we have here is the sort of bog-standard luxury flats in what was once the Toten Zone. So, 30 years ago, kids from Leipzig and Dresden were patrolling through here, just doing their jobs, and now it's housing for, who knows, and Life Brand. So that's something to tick off the bucket list, lads. I have finally seen, touched, leant against, pontificated near, chatted against the Berlin Wall. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. I'm so lucky, and this is such a great country. Definitely back again. The Dandy recommends Berlin. So I just got off the train in Friedrichstrasse, and oh my god, it was like having a fit. This place is not equipped for this heat. Well, my understanding is that it happens a lot. Like, even before the age of climate change, it did actually get this hot a lot. But yeah, sweat running down your back. Oh, not good, not good. But then again, I may look cool, but way too much polyester. Not that it's all polyester, but you know, the polyester lining doesn't help. Anyway, onwards to the checkpoint. So, there's the checkpoint behind me. I think I've left it a bit too late to get a picture with the guy in a full gear, but this is probably for the best. It seemed pretty kitsch. And my understanding is that the people who do it are actually affiliated with a male stripping company. Fair play to them if that's what they want to do, but I think this is for the best. I mean, come on, how could I resist? Trabi. Little car that could. Apparently you can take him out and drive him around too. Something to do next time. So see these cobblestones? These run around the whole of West Berlin and mark where the original wall that faced into the east went up in 61 and stayed until 89. So here we go. So here's the cobblestones. I'm in the west, well technically the Toten Zone, where all the guards and the trucks and things were, and all the guard dogs. Now, I'm in the Ost. 30 years. Well, 50 if you count the time before that. But there you go. Just a little marker of history right there. So here we are at the Topography of Terror, that museum. And we have a stretch of what the wall would have looked like day to day. Not as pretty as the East Side Gallery, of course. So there's the wall behind us now. Let's see if I can touch this one. We can be heroes. We've got a little fence here, might get in trouble. We can be heroes. just for one day. Every time I see it, it's just, I'm finally here, you know? God, it's almost like a religious experience of playing it up so much. It really, really is amazing. Yeah. 30 years, everyone in the world knew this wall. And people are trying to put new ones up again. So I'm walking around the Topography of Terror. This is where the Gestapo headquarters were based. Now you can't see it obviously, well you're looking at me, but the wall's next to me. If you look beyond it, the Wilhelmstrasse, it's Wilhelmstrasse, and on that side is the old Luftwaffe headquarters, which remarkably weren't destroyed in the war. I studied the war since I was like 7 and I didn't know that, there you go. So yeah, it's still there. So imagine it when the wall was down, this is up, and the evil shit they were doing in here. Got here with some time to spare. I'm in the museum now. Probably not going to take any footage. It is a museum, but this place is really famous, you can look it up yourself. But so far, what little I've seen, really good. Primary sources, engagement with the scholarship. It's obviously not polemical, like, obviously it's anti-Nazi, like that goes without saying, you know, and that's a good stance to be taking. But anyway, I'm gonna give it a look. Oh, and one other thing, I just remembered, the wall outside, yeah, I think, you know, you can't quite see it. Yeah, there we go, the wall outside. That's actually the wall that faced into the western sector. So this wouldn't have been the Tortenzone. This would have been just regular Berlin. I think, although I might be wrong, I think I had to check that again. Either way, the Tortenzone would have been near here, maybe on that side, possibly on the other. I think that was the wall that faced into the west, is what the tour guide said. But yeah, let's have a look. Berlin's closing down for the day. So I've just finished at the Topography of Terror, the best museum I've seen so far. Really great engagement with the scholarship, lays out everything, great deal better than the last 2 museums I went to. Really tackles the historiography, puts it in historical context. It doesn't end at the end of the war, it ends with coming down of the wall. And not even then, it talks about, you know, I'm really glad they mentioned that a lot of West German officials were actually former Nazis, and also East Germans. Really glad that they mentioned that, you know, mentioned that Remembrance was very much focused on the sort of conservative military resistance of the 20 July plot, and not anyone else, not even the communists. Apparently they were refused compensation under laws for, you know, if they were persecuted by the Nazis. But fantastic museum, do definitely give it a look when you get here. It busts all of the, you know, alt-right talking points you hear now. So like, oh, well, Hitler brought about a boom. It's like, no, he didn't. No, he didn't. All of the policies that led to the growth afterwards, for the most part, were in place before he took power. He didn't build the Autobahnen. That was already planned by the Weimar Republic. Yeah, so it just busts all those myths, and it engages really well with the scholarship. Fantastic museum. Do give it a look if you're here. Park. Hitler spent his last days. Fuck 'em. I hope they were incredibly uncomfortable, even though that's not enough for the evil he and his gang committed. Fuck you, Adolf. So here we are, lads, back on Alexanderplatz, in the shadow of the Brandenburger Tor, where it all began. Short verdict is, I love this city. I love it. I'm definitely coming back, although the one change I would make is I will come with someone. This city has been so fantastic, so moving, so enlightening in so many ways. I really want to share that with another person. So that's the one thing I change about this trip. I'd bring somebody with me. Plus it'd be easier to have my photo taken too, if I had someone to actually take the photo rather than have to ask everyone, say, Entschuldigung, bitte a photo, you know, or Russian, as I did a couple of times. But yeah, I'm so very lucky to have come to this city, and I'm definitely coming back. Berlin, you've been great. Danke, spasiba, and thank you, Berlin. You've been fantastic. And remember, stay dandy.